Every year, 1 million people commit suicide. 1 million. That's 2,800 a day. That's one every 30 seconds. There goes another guy.
Does anyone have drugs to ease my pain? My kingdom for a quaalude.
Do you know how hard it is to get a doctor to write you a prescription for a pill you don't need? It's not hard.
I love my parents so much. I lost my dad. I didn't lose him. I mean, I know where he's at right now.
I've never really thought of myself as depressed as much as paralyzed by hope.
That's what your 30s is all about. How can I turn this shit around? I'm a horrible person. Help me, Tony Robbins, help me.
Hi.
Yeah, I think like we should all just come and sit down and like shoot the shit.
What did they say you'd be doing today?
Just hang out with other comedians and talk about mental health.
I thought that we were gonna be healed by Neil Patrick Harris.
And then it like culminates in a beauty pageant, right?
Yeah. Why is everybody so cute on this show, myself included?
Camera set.
All right, here we go. Ready? All right, looking right at me.
Can we also make it clear this is my living room and I'm lending it to all the comedians to be interviewed in?
All right, you guys are rolling on everything? Okay.
Great.
Quiet, please.
Okay, who wants to start?
All right. Here we go.
C-Mark? E-Mark?
I've done 5 solo autobiographical shows, and my director, he and I always talk about how it's crucial that the show is not therapy. If it becomes therapy, it loses the point, because in therapy, you're essentially putting on your therapist your problems, your challenges, your issues, with the hope that you're working through them. And with a show, you're giving the audience something. It's actually, in some ways, the opposite, or certainly not the same thing at all. Ideally, you're providing something to the audience and not putting it on them.
So who here has struggled with mental health in their lives?
Yes. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. I was assuming everyone was going to raise their hand.
The audience is like, we're fine.
You're either very healthy or lying. Welcome, everybody. What we are doing here today is not a comedy show, although the people that we have invited up make their living doing stand-up comedy. The 6 people who are here have been able to use the things that have happened to them in their lives in effective ways, and I think what I wanted to do was have sort of a group therapy discussion. To be clear, I am not a therapist.
I was going to ask, yeah.
I am not a stand-up comic. I am wildly unclear as to why I am doing this, moderating. I think I'm affable.
Yeah, we got chosen as the mentally ill comedians to be in this. Yeah, so it's really a high.
Out of thousands of people.
I know.
They chose us from all around the world. They chose us.
There's a lot of comedians.
We stuck out.
What is it about standing in front of an audience, even before you get to the personal stuff? What is it about you that needs you to do that?
Oh, I don't know, but sometimes I hope I'll eventually answer this question, but I'm gonna start here. In kindergarten, announcing to the class during show and tell that I could. Here was the thing that was going on in show and tell when I was 5. The kids were lying. And so when it became clear that you weren't being punished for lying, I was like, well, fuck this, I'm going for it. And I said, I can speak French. I couldn't really speak French. I could just do a French accent because I had seen Inspector Clouseau in the Pink Panther movies. Growing up, my mom would take me to the movie theater, and we were poor, so that was like our air conditioning for a summer day. So I got up in front of the kindergarten kids and my teacher, and I said, pardon me, monsieur, do you have a license for your monkey? And then everyone laughed. And I thought, oh, I'll do everything I need to make this happen again and again.
When was the first time you thought you were funny?
I was never the class clown at school. I know some people were, but in my town, I grew up in Massachusetts, like Gary, the class clown was the mean guy. Walks in the room and is like, you're fat, you're gay, I'm out of here. You know, I was always a little fat and a little gay. Like, I never got along with that guy. Like, I wasn't class clown. The first time I remember getting attention was I was like probably 5. I remember I actually pulled my pants on and just shat in our backyard.
So it was physical comedy first, or?
So that was, you know, that was the height of my sophistication.
No, that was prop comedy.
Prop comedy.
When I was a girl, I liked my insides, but I didn't like my outsides. I knew I was like sweet and funny and nice and charming, but I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like that I didn't think I was cool. It felt like I was auditioning, like life was one big audition and everybody was judging me. Yeah, that's who I was when I was younger. I couldn't take a joke. I was the worst. Like, all my family were funny when they'd be roasting each other, and I'd be crying, like, don't say mean things. And everyone was like, you need to get a tough skin, you're 8, you need to, like, you need to grow up. We are the Hugheses, we are a funny family, we make jokes, this is what we do. And I'm like, no, you're teasing me. And then, like, something transitioned in me, and I said to my dad, like, Dad, I think I'm ready. And he was like, listen, now, if it's good, like, it better be good if you're bringing it to the table. And I was like, I'm bringing a joke to the table. And I made a joke up when I was 8.
What was it?
So I was like, what do you call a Rasta man that wears glasses? Rastafari. And they all went... And I was in. I told my joke and I was funny from then. I didn't cry when people teased me anymore. I was in.
But I also like that they were very angry about the comedy.
Yeah, because they were like, why can't you take a joke?
We're a funny family.
Yes. We are the funny Hugheses.
I envy y'all with like, oh, my family is so funny. It's like, I come from a family of like non-laughers. They're not interested in anything. My grandma doesn't listen to any music. She doesn't listen to TV, nothing. It's just silence in the home, that she just cooks and eats. And so it's just like, I really need this, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know if anything my family does is a typical family dynamic. You know, in Japan, it was taboo to even be from a family, you know, where it's broken, they call it, right? Like, so, like, I was the only kid. I was the only kid in my class, usually, with divorced parents.
How did you develop your sense of humor if that was your upbringing?
It was from, like, watching TV. I learned English from Scooby-Doo. And so, like, you know, so...
Zoinks!
Yeah. Yeah. So I was, like, an outcast. Yeah. They were like, what?
But
why does she talk like that?
that's probably how you developed your sense of humor, was because everybody's just, like, cooking and...
Yes. Yeah. And then so I was like, is this deadpan comedy? They was like, eat, right? Eat, please, eat. Right. Did you eat? No? Eat, please, eat, 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 eat. Did you eat? No, no, I didn't think so. Eat, please, eat, now, eat, eat. Did you eat? No, please, eat. I cook, eat, now, please, eat, 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 eat. Did you eat? No, please, eat, 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 eat. Did you eat? No, I didn't think so. I cook, now, eat, please, eat, 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 eat. And then the next time they see you, they call you fat. There's confusion and frustration and a lot of sadness. I was very sad. So I was always projecting, well, my grandma's so sad, you know? My grandma had to raise 3 kids on her own. Her husband was murdered when she was 30, you know? And then her daughter has mental illness and epilepsy and doesn't leave the house. So she still takes care of my mom, her daughter, at 89 years old, you know? My grandma raised me, you know, so I didn't really hang out with people my age growing up. You know, people are always like, Asuka, what's wrong with you? Someone 50 years older than me taught me how to socialize, okay? I think that's the core of my comedy, is wanting other people to feel seen, to build that camaraderie so that nobody feels isolated, like I have ever felt, you know?
So sweet.
Can I do it? Okay. 2 camera marks. Apples and bananas.
Make sure you just make it seem natural.
Oh, I forgot we're doing a documentary.
That was very natural.
I've never been a part of any group therapy type situation. Have you done group therapy?
No, I haven't. Certainly not with Neil Patrick Harris. And what is his role? He's
a psychologist.
He's a medical doctor. I'm having a hot flash.
Yeah.
I didn't move to Los Angeles to become a comedian. I didn't move to be in the entertainment. My 2 good friends that I grew up with were headed out to LA. I was like, well, I guess I'm moving to LA.
In high school, I was voted least likely. I've been running with it ever since.
And I was just very much the failure in school, and I failed 3 grades, dropped out of high school.
My mother, she was always just wanting to make sure that I knew the most important thing in life was to be happy. Even down to dropping out of high school. My mother would brag to people. She was like, yeah, Tig dropped out, you know? She's doing her own thing. And my own thing, I had nothing going on. Like, when I was performing in dingy, smoky bars in the Dakotas, she still thought I was doing cool things.
Do you work here? Can you hold this?
I loved that my mother was into it. So I've never had this, you know, I'll show everyone back in my hometown, or the people I grew up with, or my parents, or my mother. I just have never felt that way at all.
My parents just thought, you're crazy, like, just be a normal person. My mom just wanted me to have kids, just have kids. You know those pushy parents that you see in TV shows, stage moms? I wish I had a stage mom. I had a normal mom, normal dad, just didn't think that, like, anything would happen with my career. So I was like, I've got to take my career into my own hands.
My parents didn't really do that either.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing I could do that would, like, elicit like a reaction to be like, I'm so proud or whatever, especially my dad. My dad was an engineer at AT&T, which is like, I don't know, science. When I decided that I wanted to act, he was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Who's single except for daddy over here? You're single. What are you looking for?
A confident dude.
That's it? Girl, come on. A job?
You're diagnosed with ADHD. Was that recent?
This was 29 or 30. I had a friend who was like, hey, you need therapy. And I was like, that's pretty rude. But it turns out she was right. And I had an assessment, and she let me talk uninterrupted for like 10 minutes, and she was like, it's bad. Yeah. Things were happening that I don't know if I could Google. I don't know if I could put it into words what was going on in my brain. I just felt like I was lazy and crazy. Once I got that diagnosis, I was like, oh, Oh my God, I'm not an idiot. My most magical moment on stage was my Netflix special. Did you have a monitor with your set list on it?
No. I wish. Oh my God, no.
Little helpful.
I love that for you.
But I was looking to make sure I was on track, and it was stop. Costumes needs to see you. And I was yeah, and stop. Costume. And I said it out loud, and I went, oh, I think they're trying to tell me to stop. I often seem very unhinged when I'm performing, but I think that's just who I am in life.
That's who you are, babes.
My current therapist, sometimes she's like, hey, can we just hold some space? That you will lose your keys twice a week. Can we that's just a thing that's gonna happen. And yeah, it's frustrating, but you always find them and you always get to where you're going eventually. Yeah, I think bombing gets easier. I mean, I don't like it.
No, I hate it. Bombing in England, I'm fine with. Bombing in America makes me feel sick. When I bomb America, I'm I've let down Richard Pryor, all the people that have performed on this stage. There's so much more history to it. I remember the first time, it's do you know how many big names have performed here and you get your opportunity to perform here and you do that, you idiot.
I find influences super important. Did you have any?
I'm here with some of my influences.
Yeah.
Which is what's so cool about comedy. For the most part, we've been in the trenches together.
Right.
So there's camaraderie. Yeah, I watched Gary and Tig and Mike when I was a young comedian. My first set ever, I was trying to sound like Tig. People were like, is she? So Tig is more deadpan and takes time. But
We also dress differently.
A little bit. We dress differently, and we're just different people.
We are. We are.
So that's that. There's that
nobody
too.
ever mistakes us.
The first time I probably intersected with Richard Lewis, I was probably 6 or 7. He was a really good-looking guy with long hair, and he was cool. He dressed in all black.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
And he was just really honest about how miserable he was and how anxious and nervous, and also how full of self-loathing.
And even a week ago, I'm in bed. This woman, I was so looking forward to this sexually, and well, I'm screwed up. She says, don't you want to have an orgasm? And I said, what's in it for me?
So how did you know that was going to be you when you were older? Why did you resonate with this old, miserable man?
I remember thinking, there's a spot for somebody like me who's quirky, funny, and miserable.
My dad loved comedy. He loved Richard Pryor. And he would laugh at Richard Pryor, and I didn't know what Richard Pryor was saying, but I'd know when to laugh, so I could laugh at the same time as my dad. So I'd just be like,
I discovered masturbating by accident. I'm not lying, I was about 10, I was in the tub, and that's when you used to have to hold your dick with 2 fingers. I said, hey. I'm on to something here. I bet Dad don't know about this.
I think we're all a little bit influenced by Richard Pryor. He's in some ways the godfather of a type of autobiographical storytelling and comedy, opening himself up to the audience and saying, here's my flaws, here's my problems. Let me tell you about my drug problem. Let me tell you about the time I lit myself on fire and it nearly killed me.
Now listen to me. All the people you ever heard of freebasing, have you ever heard of anybody blowing up? Why me? 10 million motherfuckers freebase, I gotta blow up.
There's something about that, and seeing someone like him, who's such a tremendous performer, open himself wide open and be funny about it all at the same time. It's just inspiring.
7 years ago, I started walking in my sleep. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and I started having a recurring dream that there was a hovering insect-like jackal in our bedroom. And I would see this hovering jackal, and I would jump on our bed, and I would strike a karate pose. And I would say, Abby, that was my girlfriend, there's a jackal in the room. Well, around this time, I remember thinking, well, this seems dangerous. Maybe I should see a doctor. And then I thought, maybe I'll eat dinner. and I went with dinner for years.
I have a serious sleepwalking disorder that got so bad that I actually jumped through a second-story window sleepwalking in Walla Walla, Washington at a motel called La Quinta Inn.
There are two important details. One, I was on the second floor. Two, the window was closed. It was January, so I jumped through a window like the Hulk.
But my epiphany as a comedian was that when I started talking about that on stage, I thought that it would be very dramatic. And actually, it was very funny, and people were laughing, not because they also jumped through a window, but because something extraordinary in their life that made them feel anxiety or made them feel alienated from other people. If comedy is impersonal, if it's entirely outside of yourself, you run the risk of losing the humanity of what live performance has the potential for. There's a human connection in that moment between the performer and the audience. And that's unbelievable. When I go to a show and there's a single performer on stage connecting with 1,000 people all at the same time.
Oh, great, there's stairs.
I think my grandfather calling me fat every Thanksgiving is what's keeping him alive.
And we're all feeling a thing and we're all laughing at a thing. That's magical.
That joke came from pain.
And it's transcendent.
I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I'm, as a sensitive boy, not a very accommodating time for sensitive boys.
And so someone asked me for advice, and I say, like, hey, maybe you should tell that story. It's a personal story. It's twofold. One is I'm saying the audience would enjoy that, so they could have that kind of magical connection. But also, like, it's good for you, too. Like, it's a more deep human connection with your own material and what you're sharing.
I love therapy. I go to therapy, couples therapy. My husband goes to therapy. My mother, I pay for her therapy. My brother. I'm big into the idea that talking about stuff provides solutions.
Well, that's the thing, is you can find yourself in anybody's story.
Yeah.
I had advice from a really good therapist who I didn't want to tell anybody about anything about my life. And he said, if you're an open book, nobody will have anything on you.
There's another famous phrase is you're only as sick as your secrets.
Yeah. Said by the very wise Oprah.
Oh, is that Oprah?
She's
Oprah said that?
She is so wise.
Oprah.
So Oprah is wise.
But she might have gotten that from a guest, but I know I got it. I know I got it. I know I got it through Oprah, so it's all under the Oprah umbrella.
Wait a minute. Does Oprah get credit for everything that gets said?
She also wrote a lot of the Beatles catalog.
She did. Also, all of you have doctors? Is what I'm realizing.
Wait a second. You don't see a therapist or have a...
Oh, yeah, I haven't had a therapist in years. I'm raw dogging it right now. This is
Wow.
This is my true, authentic self, unfiltered. It's almost like I woke up one day and everyone was like, we have a therapist. We signed up without you. And I'm like, you have it? For how long? They're like, oh, we've all been seeing a therapist. I was like, was there a Groupon or a discount that I missed? And everyone...
You think there will be a time?
I don't want to talk about it so much because I haven't felt like I'm ready or that I would have... I feel like, yeah.
Does anyone else have diagnosed medical conditions?
Yeah, I mean, I have a major depressive disorder and anxiety. Yeah, I take medicine and that changed my life, of course, yeah.
What are the valleys like? I say that because I think stand-up seems wrought with so much insecurity because you're writing your own material. You're literally putting yourself and your stories out to other people to judge them night after night, show after show. And it seems like if depression is an issue, that it would be a challenging career.
I mean, it is a challenging career, but it's also a career that allows you to go to work at 9 p.m.
Yes.
And wear what you wore all day. And They don't require you to shower or anything like that, or put on ironed clothes. At 17 years old, in 1988, I was 6'6" and 255 pounds. I had built a very convincing man costume. I was bigger and faster and stronger than everybody, so I did very well in high school. And then I got to college, and everybody was the Gary Gulman of their high school, and it was just, I was overwhelmed. And I was like, but this is all I have, all I am. And about 3 weeks into it, I had this breakdown. I didn't know that I was being seen as this great potential, which is, I think it's a quote from Socrates or somebody who said, those the gods wish to destroy, they first call promising. I was athletic, I'll own that, but then we put on football helmets and pads, and I go out there, and these guys just kick my ass for 3 weeks. Guys bigger than me, but also guys just smaller and faster and tougher than me. I dropped a ball in the end zone, and I went home on a Friday night and slept through Saturday afternoon, stayed in my room on Sunday. I'd put my self-esteem into how I was on a football field, and my brother was really helpful. He said, you need to go to the trainer on Sunday and tell him that you're suffering. I don't know where you cry. My older brother told me, tell the trainer that you have depression. My brother diagnosed me. I didn't really understand what it was, what the symptoms were. I just thought I was very weak. And I went to the trainer, I went to a therapist, got diagnosed, and suddenly this thing I'd felt since I was 7 had a name, and that was helpful. But then it wasn't until like 6 months in, they put me on a medication, and I remember when it kicked in, I remember like, oh, this is how everyone else feels all the time.
Huge.
Yeah. How are you feeling about all the feeling?
So I do feel a little scatterbrained.
Really?
I forgot to take my medicine today. There's been a couple times where I have very much zoned out and not been here, but then I kind of have to ground myself a little bit and be like, someone's talking.
Yeah.
My relationship with stand-up it's very up and down. Right now, I'm in a phase where I don't want to tour, I do want to tour, I don't want to tour, I do want to tour, I don't want to write, I do want to write.
I've had a lot of moments where I didn't want to do it, and I had weeks where I was like, oh yeah, I quit comedy, I don't do comedy anymore. But here's the thing, I used to think I need jokes, and I need 45 minutes, and I need an hour, and I think about how daunting it must be to have this, I can't concentrate
and I can't concentrate to sit down to write the hour.
There's a book called Bird by Bird about writing. It was advice that the author's father had given his child.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, how am I going to do this big report about all the birds of North America? And he said, bird by bird, which is right.
Is exactly
and then
what it
how do
is.
you write jokes? One sentence at a time.
Me personally, I look at all the birds in the sky and I go, oh my God, how on earth am I gonna do all of this? But if I just keep in my brain, just one bird at a time. You like parrots, start with a parrot. And then you can move on to a flamingo.
Yeah.
But make sure you get to that parrot first.
Do some easy ones up front.
Yeah, that's just like a nice thing to be like, Nicole, one bird at a time.
Yeah, the author is Anne Lamott.
Anne Lamott.
Lamott.
I'll never.
L-A-M-O-T-T.
Lamont?
Lamott.
Am I not saying it good?
Yeah, because there's no N in
Lamott.
like Mott's
Lamott.
applesauce.
Mott?
Or Mott Street or Mott Haven. if you live in the neighborhood that I live in, which is called Mott Haven.
I can't believe you had so many examples
I
of
really-
Mott
of Mott,
just in your
yeah.
pocket.
Yeah, I collect.
When I was starting out in the early 2000s, just like in New York clubs, it was tough. People would be so mean to me, like merciless, because I was young 20s. Mitch Hedberg was the first person who was someone who I really admired and asked me to open for him on a whole bunch of dates.
Whenever I walk, people try to hand me out flyers. And when someone tries to hand me out a flyer, it's kind of like they're saying, here, you throw this away.
I would ask him all kinds of questions. And, when you're the opening act, you pick up the headliner sometimes and bring them to the club. Like, that's part of the gig, I guess. Yeah. I just couldn't believe it. It's literally there's moments in my comedy career where things like that, where I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done by far.
I actually have a habit of making awkward situations even more awkward. Like, I was moving a new bed into my apartment recently, and this woman who lived in the building opened the front door for me with her key, and she goes, I'm not worried because a rapist wouldn't have a bed like that. Now, what I should have said was nothing. What I did say was, you'd be surprised.
And then we went, I was like, do you guys want to go bowling? There was a bowling alley. I had my own bowling shoes.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, now's a good time to announce that I am a nerd.
We go bowling, and I'm nervous because it's my hero, Mitch Hedberg, and I'm bowling all kinds of zeros and gutter balls and
I'm sure
ones.
he cared.
Well, at the end of it, he says to me, thought when you asked us to go bowling that you would be good at bowling.
I'll give you a fact about Mitch. Time magazine once dubbed Mitch the next Seinfeld.
Was this our friend who had the drug problem?
Well, I got the drugs under control now.
Do you?
Yeah.
You had to take them responsibly?
Yeah, just for the creative side of it.
With Mitch's drug stuff, I was in the dark to some degree. Like most people, I wouldn't witness it, wouldn't be out in the open.
Were you aware that it was happening?
I would hear stories about it.
Uh-huh.
I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Mitch about a week before he died at Caroline's.
I like to drink before the show. I have a couple drinks before I go on stage. Every time people applaud, I'm always going, no, hold on.
He asked me to come up and do a guest set, and afterwards we went to a bar, and people, fans of his, were coming up to him and offering him drugs, handing him drugs. And it was the first time I was like, fuck, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is bad.
My manager's cool. He gets concerned. He says, Mitch, don't use liquor as a crutch. I can't use liquor as a crutch because a crutch helps me walk.
In relation to substance issues, I think like everyone in his life, I struggled with what could we have done differently, and
Alcoholism is a disease, but it's like the only disease that you can get yelled at for having. I gotta get off this damn stage. I wish it was just like a trap door that would open up and I'd fall in it. You are done. And I'd land on a couch and have a drink.
I've lost a handful of comedian friends over the years, Mitch Hedberg and Greg Giraldo and others, and the pain of it doesn't go away. There's no answer in it. I remember at Mitch's memorial, it was with Mitch's mom and Dave Attell outside together. It was really sweet. Dave Attell, I think, one of the great comedians of all time. And Dave said a thing that, I mean, in some ways it's sort of silly, but in some ways there's a lot of truth to it, is he goes just we'll always have the records. And I love that.
Yeah.
We'll always have the records, because it's true, I still listen to Hedberg records.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The makeup artists in England are insane.
Oh no.
When I was at the BBC, the makeup artist that they had for me, she'd never done makeup for black people before. And she panicked. She didn't realize I would be black. And she didn't have any black makeup, so she put cocoa powder on my face.
What?
Literally.
Like the actual
Like Ovaltine? Yes, on my face. Like you can drink it. And she tricked me because I could smell it. And I was like, it smells really chocolatey. And she was like, oh, it's called cocoa. She put me in blackface. It was just ridiculous. So yes.
London, what on earth are you doing?
I was doing children's television to pay the bills, and because I wanted to be on TV, and that was the only like form of television that would accept me.
Oh, the toilet. Toilet water more like. God, you smell like a bog brush.
Kids TV in Britain's so diverse, and that's where it stops. And then like normal television is just old white men and hot young white women, or just hot young white men. I was told I wasn't conventionally attractive, so I didn't see myself as attractive. So I just was like, you're an ugly black girl trying to make jokes in Britain, and they keep telling you no. And I watched a lot of my white male friends become famous. Like one by one, they'd start comedy one year, then the next year they'd be on TV. And I just saw it happen.
And all of a sudden, you just get depressed.
And so after every show, it felt like a rejection. It would make me die inside. And I'll go in the comments and read the comments because I'm looking for people to call me ugly or annoying or not funny. But every negative thing that anyone's ever said about me, I've already thought it about myself.
People had problems with my hair. They didn't know what the fuck it was. Now everybody look like me. Ha ha.
Like watching American TV and just seeing people like Whoopi Goldberg and people like Brandy and Tia and Tamara from Sister Sister and Moesha and all these black girls that are all American, I said to myself, that's where I need to be. Once I get to America, they'll see.
Because blackness in Britain was American blackness. The music we listen to, American. Our heroes, Oprah, American. Beyonce, American. Whoopi Goldberg, American. So as a black British girl that's trying to make her mark in anything, I had to look to America as guidance to get me there.
I tell you what, I just turned 31. I know I don't look it. Right? Just turned 31. I'm very attractive. It's not a joke, it's more factual. I'm rich as fuck, guys, seriously. When I eat McDonald's in Beverly Hills, okay? I'm rich as fuck.
Like in Britain, a lot of the female comics there, God bless them, they would like just stand still, keep the microphone on the stand, and then just like put their hair back behind their ears and speak like this, and then maybe an anal joke, and then that's it. This whole tone, like that. And I watched that, and I was like, I don't like that. That's not me. So I was like, what do I want to do? And I would like take the mic off the stand, kick it down.
All I know is that if I was a mute that worked in 7-Eleven, I'd be married by now. It's true. It's true. And I ain't even been proposed to. There's bitches in Kentucky with no teeth that have been proposed to. What the fuck is wrong with me?
I'm in your face, I'm loud. And then essentially that just became how I enjoyed stand-up and how I wanted to perform and show the world who I was.
So is the version of you that you're presenting when you're doing stand-up armor? Like a character version of you? Not,
Yes.
I don't mean that in a disrespectful way.
No, it is, 100%. My stand-up version of me is basically just an ultimate bad bitch. And so, I don't know, when I'm on stage, my energy and my stand-up rhythm, like Tig was talking about, is gunfire. It's like, gah, 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 gah. Like, I literally won't give you enough time to laugh. You're laughing, choke on those, here's some more jokes, So, like, when I watch comics like Tig and Atsuko and they're on stage and they're, like, drinking the water. Like, I've never done that before. Like, I literally do not stop. I'll stop for the applause breaks, obviously, and just,
Is that to potentially overcome an insecurity
yeah,
or a
probably. I
shyness?
probably am like, I'm not good enough to stop. So I gotta keep going.
I should try your style.
Yeah, try it. Yes. Go on, Tig.
I would be like, oh, God. Oh, jeez, my spinal fusion.
Yeah.
Rat-a-tat-tat.
Yes. Everyone's dead.
Anal jokes.
Ain't no, I
Coming at you with my anal jokes.
I think my style changed over the years. When I first began, it was very kind of one-liner, quick joke.
I notice more and more women are getting fake boobs. Meanwhile, I still haven't even gotten real ones yet.
Then it became I went on Conan once and pushed a stool around. Made everybody uncomfortable, but
I feel like maybe some of you aren't into it.
got some laughs. But yeah, I kind of allowed myself to do whatever I felt most comfortable doing at that time. And then that's also what ended up happening in 2012.
Can you talk a little bit about the circumstances leading up to that?
Well, in a 4-month period of time in 2012, I had pneumonia. Then I contracted this very deadly disease, C. diff, the intestinal disease. Then my mother tripped, hit her head, and died. My girlfriend and I split up, and then I was diagnosed with invasive cancer. And yeah, I didn't have depression. I had deep, deep sadness, deep, deep fear, deep, deep sadness, deep, deep fear. I had this show booked at the venue Largo in Los Angeles. And I remember I called to say, hey, I don't think I can do this. I'm really struggling emotionally and physically. And I remember the owner saying, let's just keep it on the books and just see how you feel when we get to that date. And I thought, this guy, I don't think he heard me. My mother died and I have cancer, and my girlfriend, you know, and, but he was like, yeah, just if you don't want to do it, you can cancel it the second before you're gonna walk on stage. And I thought, okay. And as it got closer to the show date, I found myself making jokes about these different things that I hadn't been able to find humor in. I allowed myself to go with what was happening, and that was that it didn't make sense to do anything other than to share what was actually going on in my life.
Good evening, hello. I have cancer, how are you? Is everybody having a good time? Diagnosed with cancer. It's okay. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. It might not be okay, but I'm just saying. You're gonna be okay.
After my mother died, the hospital sent this questionnaire asking how her stay at the hospital went. And when I first got that in the mail, I was outraged. Whereas that night I walked on stage, I talked about it, and I answered the entire questionnaire.
Number 1, during this hospital stay, did nurses explain things in a way you could understand? I mean, considering you had 0 brain activity. Number 4, suggestions for improvements, such as, should we stop sending questionnaires to dead people?
There was nervous laughter, there was hysterical laughter, people were stunned, people were confused. I really felt like I was stepping off of a ledge and suddenly I could fly. Even if I was maybe gonna crash and burn, it was very freeing to share these personal aspects.
What if I just transitioned right now into silly just jokes right now? No, I want to hear more bad news. No.
This is fucking amazing.
Oh.
On that note, let's take like a 5-minute break. Let's take a break.
Do we leave the room?
I find LA the hardest city to live in. 'Cause
LA.
it's a
Right.
very industry-centric town where everyone at their level is annoyed seemingly that they're not at the next level.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got invited to the Vanity Fair party after the Oscars. Like, we made it. We're at the fucking Vanity Fair party. And we walk in, we do the whole thing, and then we're like looking and there's like a velvet roped area in the, and we're like, what? Who's in? And they're like, oh no, that's So then the next year, we got invited back and we're like, can we get into, we know there's like a velvet ropey kind of area. That would be, could we go in that? So we did. And we get into the velvet rope area and we're sitting there, and we're hanging out with a couple people. Maybe Bryan Cranston was there, it was super fun. And then everyone starts leaving. And we're like, oh, where are you going? Oh, we're going to Madonna's thing. And we're like,
Another velvet
huh,
rope.
Literally.
and then you go to Madonna's, and there's a group of people that get to go like downstairs to where Madonna is at Madonna's party. So that was LA to me. It was like no matter the cool spot you got, it felt like there was another level.
And the thing is, you would have been fine if you hadn't seen that velvet rope. You would have had a
Would have had a great time.
You would have had the best time.
I'm watching Britney Spears dance.
Dance?
She's just, she always just dances semi-naked in her house.
Oh, yes.
I remember being 12, knowing that Britney Spears made it on the Mickey Mouse Club when she was 12, and I hadn't made it, and I wasn't on the Mickey Mouse Club or Barney. I remember just feeling like I missed my chance, I've passed my prime, and that was me at 12. So, me at 34. It's no surprise that I'm blonde right now. I remember wanting to be a white girl so badly because I thought as a kid that being white was seen as beautiful.
Richard, I don't want to be obsessed with race, but this is a different angle I've really never heard anybody discuss. Can white writers write for you? You know what I mean?
If they write for the human being in me, yes. If they if they try to write for some idea they have of what I would be as a black person, they usually cannot do that.
Most of the shows that we have on British TV that include black people were written or created by white people. And for me, because I was in the industry and I wasn't like that, I wasn't like black enough for the white people, then also I'm black, so I was too black for the white people as well.
Earlier in my career, I'd be steered in a direction to sound a certain type of way.
What would be a case of somebody trying to sound black? Could you give an example?
I know they don't mean any harm, but they don't realize how ignorant it is when they're trying to have that black voice that some whites try to do that they really don't do well.
Like, why you jive turkey?
Yeah.
I did a commercial. It was one of the only commercials I've ever booked. I play a fairy in it. And at the audition, the casting director was like, be as black as you can be. And if you go too black, I'll bring you back. And in the room, I was like, how is she gonna bring me back? 1, 2, what is too black?
Was she black?
You know she wasn't. You know.
Wow.
It was a thin white woman who was like, I want you to say things that your people say, like call the little boy son and say sister. And she wanted neck movements for a fairy. To be like, I grant your wish.
And the comic in you could probably know that is it material
Oh
potentially?
yeah, I ended up writing a sketch about it called Be Blacker.
Hey, Nicole, I need you to be blacker. Do you understand what I mean when I say black girl?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Do you know how to be sassy? Yes, let me see. Yeah, sassy, that's great, sassy. I want you to take that, go right into it. I love that. Sass it up.
Sassy.
Still rolling, go ahead.
LaShawanda, did you get those clams I asked for?
Ooh, child, I got them clams. I got everything on that list you gave me.
Okay, have you heard of Medea?
It doesn't feel good when someone's like, the black you are is not the black I want. I want you to pretend to be this other type of black that I only know from TV or whatever. And it wasn't only that, I'm like also fat and I had to be in a harness and hoisted to the sky. And the first thing the stunt guy said was, we tested this on the biggest man we could find. You're bigger, but we tested it. And I was like, so I'm like a parody of a black person. I might die. I'm the biggest thing there. People are like staring at me. It was wild. The whole thing was wild.
Wow.
You're told as a kid, oh, she's fat. And you're told that fat is a bad word. In my early 20s, I worked at a clothing store called Lame Bryant. I called it Lame Giant. Nobody thought it was funny. And I would wear like really skin tight clothing. And my manager, she looked just like Shrek. Her name was Judith. Please leave her name in. And she would like yell at me, reprimand me. She would be like, you can't wear tight clothing. And in my brain, I was like, what? So am I lying to the other fat people about being fat? That's insane. I just had like an epiphany where I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna wear what like I feel comfortable in. And then I started wearing bikinis out in public. And then I was like, people do stare, but I was like, that means my body is really powerful.
So, I tell a lot of fat jokes, and there's always someone in the audience who's like, Nicole, you're not fat, girl, no. You're beautiful. Bitch, I know. Look at this. Thank you.
It's nice to like pull from something where you're like, oh, that didn't feel great and turn it into something great.
You'll talk about anything on stage.
For the most part, yeah. I don't know.
more-
I just feel like everyone kind of goes through shit. So like, why not talk about it? Because there's somebody in the audience that's gone through it or identifies with it.
Nice.
After my mother passed away, I was diagnosed with bilateral breast cancer, but I have not told anybody yet. You're the first people to find out. Wow, that's a very cold response.
After all of the attention I got, it confused me because everybody was saying that I found my voice and that I am a dark truth teller. And I was thinking, yeah, I guess that's what I am. And
Before my surgery, I was already relatively flat-chested. And I made so many jokes over the years about how small my boobs were that I started to think that maybe my boobs overheard me. And we're just like, you know what? We're sick of this. Let's kill her.
But I was really lost, you know? I was still swirling from so much. I was trying to have a child. Even before Stephanie and I got together, and I kept it a secret from her because I didn't want to freak her out in the beginning of our relationship. To be falling in love and say, oh, by the way, I'm also injecting myself on the side of the road with hormones to try and have a child by myself. Want to go out? Once I revealed it to her, I couldn't believe that she was all in. She was like, I don't want you hiding that from me. I want to be a part of that. And I could not believe she was saying that. Then we started to do that together as a couple. I was the subject of a documentary film called Tig. The producers and directors wanted me to get the results of my pregnancy test on camera. I know if the news that he's in there, if that is the news, I don't think it would be possible to have another bad day while I'm alive. Because of my health, it was questionable whether or not I should be even trying to do this hormone treatment to have, it was really a lot.
Oh my gosh. There's the doctor. Oh boy.
And then I got the news on camera.
Hello?
Hi, so I got the results of the blood test, and unfortunately I don't have good news for you.
Uh-huh.
The results came back as a less than 2 for a pregnancy test, and that means it's negative.
It's so wild to think about now because there really wasn't an ounce of my being that thought that it wasn't going to happen. I was so convinced. It was devastating. And there I was with cameras on me. I really wanted privacy at that moment.
Yeah, or copy that.
I have massive imposter syndrome with a lot of
Do you know any of
things.
these guys?
No.
No?
I think I've met Gary before, but like decades before. So that's as much as I know anyone here.
Gary and I have funny history because when we first met, I was in Los Angeles for a few days. You and I did a show together on Sunset Strip at some bar, and then he was like, "Here's my number, let's hang out." And then you ghosted me for about 5 years.
That is funny.
Why did you ghost him?
I thought you
I'll
were
tell
going
you why
to
I
say you
ghosted
snubbed
him.
him.
When I wasn't on stage, I was frequently standing on a windowsill. Like, I've never been more depressed. I was on the 12th floor and I remember looking out. The thing that saved me was like, I know I'm gonna regret it halfway down.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But I would stand up there.
Would there be anyone that could take you off that ledge at that point, or would it just have to be you?
It was just me, yeah. I mean, I always thought somebody would call with some nice thing or something like that, but it was calling.
I was calling it.
Me. I was calling. I called the ledge. I even called the landline that was attached to the ledge. Yes.
Okay.
You kidding me?
Were you paying rent or were you just standing out on a
No, it
ledge?
was Since I've been 7 years old, I couldn't imagine an ending for my life that wasn't self-inflicted.
How fresh is that thought now?
Oh my gosh.
Do you have those
When was the last time I had that thought?
Sure.
Probably October of 2017.
The best 2017 was Chris Pine. He was Captain Kirk in Star Trek and the love interest in Wonder Woman. Let's compare it to my 2017. Psych ward.
I would have 3 to 6 month periods of depression. I remember as early as 7 years old, just about every year through 46. And then at 46, I had one that lasted for 2.5 years. And it had never been that deep. It had never lasted that long. It was just, my wife said, "I thought you were dying." I was like catatonic on the couch all day long, and I couldn't take shows. And that was the one thing I was always able to do through my, at that point, 24-year career, was pull myself together for an hour or so each night and work. And then I couldn't even do that.
Excruciating. This is like a cosmic bottom.
I'd been offered to come into the hospital for 2 years, and I've fought it because of every reason why people are afraid of hospitals. The movies and television tell you that the psych ward is dangerous and it'll make you worse, and that it's unclean. And I checked myself in, and it was ordinary. Other than you have to give up your shoelaces and wear socks with treads on them, it's very ordinary. And I got recognized by another patient from television. And he said, I won't tell anybody, and I don't want to embarrass you, but am I crazy or are you Gary Goldman? And I said, oh, you're crazy. But I'm only taking that from the context.
My psychiatrist is an advocate for and an expert in something called electroconvulsive therapy, which used to be called electroshock therapy, but they felt electroshock was not quite horrifying enough. They said, yes, electroshock is disturbing, but I feel like we're soft-selling the convulsions.
I had only seen that in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it scared the shit out of me. But I'm grateful that I can talk about it from the other side and make people less afraid of those treatments, because they're not. It's the gold standard, and especially for treatment-resistant depression. What I'm trying to say is I've tried everything up to then, every medication, Pamelor, and then Prozac, Celexa, Effexor, Zyprexa. I think my doctor just said, let's try drugs that rhyme. And it was that I think rewired or defragged, or however you want to put it, to my brain, got out the grooves that it was in, and it saved my life. And so I'm, well, thank you. And after ECT, I made a decision to move back to the town that I grew up in, to convalesce. And I wound up moving into the same house I grew up in.
And coincidence of coincidences, my mother still lived there.
But you were 46 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. I find it easier to tell people that I had received a dozen inpatient electroconvulsive therapy sessions than at 46 years old I had moved back in with my mother. I got better and started doing stand-up, and it got me to do this thing which is very therapeutic, which is get out of the house and be around people. And I happen to be welcome at a comedy club in Harvard Square called the Comedy Studio to try out jokes about mental illness. It was the ideal place because I felt loved there, and I could fail and I could do well, and that permission to fail was essential.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I've been diagnosed depressed for over 30 years, and it went from sneaking into my therapist's office to telling anyone with an HBO subscription in 30 years. Those are great strides.
It's huge.
There has never been a better time to be mentally ill.
My husband's mom also has schizophrenia. And some people think that's how we started dating. Which, can you imagine that being your only criteria for finding a partner? Like, how would that work, right? Just yourmomtoo.com, you know? I didn't really mention that my mom has like mental illness or anything with friendships or relationships at all. It just happened to be that on a night I'm just hanging out with someone I like, and we're, about to get intimate, for the first time. He gets a call from his mom. And I was talking to my mom before we were about to, do it.
Yeah.
Ryan told me first that his mom has schizophrenia. And then I revealed that my mom too.
That is so wild.
It was weird where I was like, I feel like I'm in a movie. Yeah.
And she doesn't even know you're talking about it?
She knows I talk about a lot. I say, Mom, I'm an open book on stage.
Yeah.
I talk about our family. I talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But just know people, they never judge us for it.
Yeah.
They share their stories with me afterwards, too.
Yeah.
So they don't feel like they're freaks.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're not freaks either. I kind of tell her that. And then, you know.
And schizophrenia is hard to talk about in comedy, you know, because people are afraid of it and it's so stigmatized. And I don't think it helps that it has such a scary sounding name, you know? No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't help. Yeah, I truly wish schizophrenia had a more approachable name, you know, something like Splash Mountain, you know? But that's fun. I love that ride, right? In fact, what if all mental illnesses were just named after rides at Disneyland?
I would watch a lot of Disney movies, and Disney movies don't have great examples of moms. They're usually not there. You know, Little Mermaid doesn't have a mom. Belle from Beauty and the Beast doesn't have a mom. Cinderella doesn't have a mom. Pocahontas doesn't have a mom. She has a grandma, but she's a tree, you know? So I just thought moms were maybe like my mom. I don't know what mental illness is when I'm a kid. We didn't talk about that, you know.
And you've never had a therapist?
I've had therapists before, and I thought, well, you know, I came to you to figure out how to break up with my boyfriend, and we achieved that goal, you know, so,
I
man.
have a therapist.
Yeah?
You don't?
I do. I've gone for like 20 years, I think.
Right, yeah.
Since we've known each other.
Yeah,
Is it
25.
because of our relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
20-some years, same person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, that's wild to me. I like it for other people.
But you don't like it for you?
讲换药了，不然吃这个都会怎么讲，成一种习惯嘛。
I do think therapy is something that you need to want to do.
Right, yeah. But it is hard because, and you know, like my mom's not on medication right now because she refuses to go to the psychiatrist. And I'm starting to think, I'm like, and I can't force her. I'm not gonna put her in the car, you know, while she's kicking and screaming, you know. She doesn't leave the house. She's scared of the world. She hasn't bathed in 20 years. She just stays home and she's so scared of the world. And I wonder, sorry, you asking made me realize maybe I don't see a therapist because I feel like a part of me feels like maybe I don't deserve it. And when my mom needs so much help right now, and I'm always like, oh, maybe we could get you a therapist to even talk out some of the traumas that, you know, the voices in your head, you know. Maybe I see a therapist and I go, Mom, look at me.
Yeah, honestly, that is helpful. Like, anytime I've had a friend who I'm like, I think you should probably see someone, I tell them about how therapy helps me.
And so she's not at all able to function on her own?
We're scared to let her, but she has a daydream. That's where she's able to live outside of the confines, you know, of the limitations that life gave her. I have dreams of getting her a cat, though.
You can make that come true. But if she gets it and she realizes this is too much, I don't want it, you can send it to our house.
Really? That's a bold statement. That's a bold promise.
Well, I have 3 cats. Why would a 4th?
What if this cat's like evil?
You deal with it.
No, I'll take you up on it.
Yeah. Okay.
We ended on a promise.
Kitty promise.
You know Tig Notaro? That's my other mom.
That's my other mom.
Hi, Jake. I'm afraid I have some terrible news. Your mother fell last night, and it looks like she's not going to make it. Please give me a call.
Rick? During my childhood, I was not terribly close with my stepfather. He had told me that my career was a waste of my time and energy because I think in his mind, it was like you go to school, you go to college, you take all those steps that I was not at all taking. And so it created this deeper rift between the two of us. When my mother died, we were leaving my mother's funeral, he broke down and apologized. I couldn't believe that I was seeing him cry. And then he said this thing that I still am blown away that it came from him. He said, I realize now it's not the child's responsibility to teach the parent who they are. It's the parent's responsibility to learn who their child is. And he said, and I did not do that with you, and I'm so sorry. If I could tell my mother that that happened, I know that she would have said, it doesn't matter when it came, it's just important and good that it did come. We continued to grow closer, and nothing that had happened before mattered anymore to me. And then, yeah, March 28th of 2022, Rick contracted C. diff, the disease that had nearly killed me 10 years before. And then 10 years to the day after taking my mother off life support, I was taking him off of life support. We were all gathered at his gravesite. There was the green AstroTurf, you know, over the grave, and my brother got up and he fell into my stepfather's grave.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And
into the
yeah.
6-foot hole?
Yeah, he fell in. They had forgotten to put plywood under the green.
Oh my God.
He was like, but because there was the green AstroTurf, it like slowly, he was going, wow. And I was sitting there thinking, this must happen all the time. And then a second later, I was like, no, this doesn't happen all the time. And then I was like, oh, I have a new show to write.
I love it when people can make jokes like that, because it just makes you feel, oh yeah, we're all in this together, and there's funny things about this and sad things about this, and we're all just going through it.
A funeral audience is really amped
Ready for
to
laughter.
laugh. My dad's funeral, I murdered.
I murdered at my dad's too.
And then the rabbi tried to do time after me.
Oh no.
You were like, no, Rabbi.
Couldn't follow me.
Yes.
Couldn't follow me. I said, Rabbi, you don't go on after the headliner. The show is over.
My mom died when I was 16, and then my dad died when I was 21. And I guess the way I dealt with it was through humor and stuff. So like, when we were spreading my dad's ashes, we were like fighting over who was gonna do it, and I like snatched it out of my granny's hand. I was like, I'll fucking do it. And as I sprinkled them, the wind picked up and my mouth was open.
Oh my God.
You ate
I ate my daddy!
Oh my God.
I was never really close with my dad, but like we shared some like really fun times before he died. He had sent me an email and was like, they're looking for a new lottery person to like call the numbers. And he's like, you should do that. That's a camera. That's a thing you could do on camera. And I was like, oh my God. He didn't call them auditions, but he'd be like, are you going to the tryouts? And I'd be like, yeah, Dad, I'm trying to do the tryouts. And I told him about improv, and I was like, will you come to the city and watch me? And my dad hated the city. And he was like, I will come. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then he died. The further I get from that, I'm like, well, at least I had that. At least I had like a year or two where he was like a cheerleader and asking me about stuff. So I guess I just feel really lucky that I had those years with him.
The stuff I've been through has certainly been a heavy load. I felt cursed for a while, even though I don't believe in that type of thing. It's hard and easy to say I wouldn't change a thing. And I reconcile that by imagining showing my mother my life. If things hadn't happened the way they did, I wouldn't have my life with Stephanie or with my children.
You were saying before that now that you are married and have children, it affects the way that you construct bits and stories.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think ultimately you land in a better place? Or do you think it impairs your jokes?
No, I think it's in a better place because of the bigger picture. I mean, there's always an editing process, and it's like, what is your motivation in your edit? And sometimes now it's, I have other people in my life that I have to think about.
Do you talk about everything, or is there stuff that you choose not to talk about?
Tig and I were talking about this backstage, but like some of it is your wife and child. You do consider like, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings in this way, or that's their story as well. So like I heard this joke about how Jenny and I went to our daughter's ballet recital, and Jenny and I are crying and crying because she doesn't have it, you know. Well, because I'm in the business, I know. You know, you have a sense.
You're in the ballet business.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, of course, no, I was crying because it was so good, and then I'm hugging Una afterwards, and I go, you were fantastic, and she said, and it's true, she goes, Dad, you would say I was fantastic even if I wasn't fantastic. And I had to say, that's a really good point, and you're right.
I just did a matinee show, and my kids saw me perform for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And it was really interesting because I did not consider that my son Max was going to heckle me. And so I'm doing my show. I'm doing my show, and my son Max, he goes, "No, she didn't."
Wow. That's so good.
Oh, that's incredible.
I was like, what? I was like, yeah. And he goes, "That's not true." Oh,
wow.
Amazing.
When I met Stephanie, she said that her big dream was to live to be 100. And I thought, well, that's insane. I always thought I'll probably kick it somewhere in the 60s, 70s, and I've had a good run. But she said, no, I want, I want us to die together. And I was like, I'm 15 years older than you, so that means I'd have to live to be 115. And she said, you can do it. I think it's most important to figure out what your North Star is, what's driving you to do the thing, whether it's stand up or living to be 115. You have to have that thing. Otherwise, none of the other elements are going to fall into place. And that's what drew me to changing my diet, meditation, prioritizing my sleep, all of those things. But I think it's so crucial.
I had appeared multiple times on every single late night TV show.
Everybody, April 13th.
I had a lovely girlfriend who's now my wife. I had from the outside what you would say, this guy. I remember my friends, when I opened up to them, telling them how depressed I was, they would say, I thought you had everything together. I kept thinking that. My first Tonight Show, then I'll feel like a
then you feel like
comedian.
you
I
made
can tell
it.
people, no, second Tonight Show, third Tonight Show,
Nope.
first Letterman, second Letterman,
No. It's good to have ambition, but I think gratitude,
Yeah.
I have to check myself.
No, it's so true. I mean, gratitude, it's an antidote to compare and despair.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, I don't have that, but I have this.
But I have this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We are so lucky. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful right now.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I'm me. I'm happy you were you.
Yeah,
I'm happy we're here.
me too.
Let's leave everyone here with how to stay hopeful. How do we maintain our sanity?
I write in my journal all the time because I find that if you write down sort of what you're saddest about or angriest about, you can start to see your own life as a story. And sometimes you can zoom out and encourage the main character to make better decisions.
My first therapy session, she was like, what's your goal? And I was like, to fix me. And she was like, well, I can't fix you. You're not broken. I'm going to give you tools in order for you to adjust your life to you. So like, I lose my keys almost every day. So now my keys are 5 pounds. Like there's like 100 keys on them.
Being kinder to yourself.
Yeah. And I forgive myself a lot.
Self-acceptance
Yes.
was enormous. I see how I feel now as a remission, or I'm in recovery, to use an AA term, and I do all these things to maintain exercising, eating right, sleeping, my medicine, my therapist.
Just dancing, $22 dance class, living my best life, and there's people there from all ages. One of the women's like 70, one of the girls there's like 18, and we have the best time. And I always feel, even if I haven't got the routine down or I forget the choreo, I always leave feeling so much better that I went. That or get yourself a mental health designer handbag. I do that. I got myself a mental health
Girl,
Chanel bag.
it helps.
Yeah, exactly.
Handbags.
Mental health, yes.
It's so hard for me to say that other people should find help because I don't seek it myself. Yeah, in no way am I perfect or there with looking out for my mental health needs. Yeah. In fact, I'm just starting to figure it out.
One thing that was really helpful was a quote from Mark Twain.
Me.
Well,
From Oprah,
From Oprah.
from Maya Angelou.
That my therapist famously said.
I prefer Samuel Clemens.
Samuel Langhorne Clemens.
Yes.
Yes.
What was his quote?
If you want to cheer yourself up, cheer somebody else up.
Yes. Yes.
And Kurt Vonnegut's son, Dr. Mark Vonnegut, has this great thing. He says, the meaning of life is to help each other through this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well said.
I don't have a single original thought, by the way.
Yes, yeah, no, this is what I'm learning about you. I love this.
But at least I cite my references, which is ethical.
No, of course, of course.
Well, and as Ram Dass said,
Yeah.
regardless of where anybody is in life, we're all walking each other home.
Wow.
And I love that so much. And it ties into taking care of each other.
There's another quote that was like, have you ever heard the glass is already broken?
Who said that one?
Who said that Yeah.
I don't, it's
Mark
Oprah.
Twain.
It's,
Walk other people home. I'm trying to summarize.
Let's summarize.
Well, yeah.
In summary,
Treat yourself, walk other people home, share yourselves.
Go to the side.
Share.
Misquote Oprah.
Misquote Oprah. And you're not alone.
Yes.
Did I do good?
Yes, you did.
that's perfect. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Neil.
Otsko Okotsko, Nicole Byer, Tig Notaro, London Hughes, Gary Goldman, Mike Reviglia, and I'm Neil Patrick Harris. Good night! Group therapy hug.
Yeah, let's do it.
I have very little wisdom. All I would say is, whatever you're feeling, you're most likely not alone. Most likely is allowing for pedophilia, that just in case anyone's wondering. I don't want people to feel carte blanche, like, yeah, fuck it, everybody's feeling this. I want people to feel some sense of shame if they're evil.
Some days it's hard to get out of bed, and people say, why is it hard to get out of bed? And I think I know why. This is my theory. The thing they don't tell you about life when you're growing up is this. Life, it's every single day.